Alright, so working on this truck again. Same one I've been kind of working on this whole time. So the problem I'm having, or it's not a problem I'm having now, but it's a problem that's been going on, is the plow control for the up and down is getting really hard to move. And I think we're going to have to change out the cable as part of it. I think it's worn somewhere and it's causing excessive friction as it kind of pushes on it. But some of the problem was actually the valve there. So I took this, this is the detent for the down. So there's little ball bearings in there, and when you push the lever down all the way, this extends, and the detent, those little balls drop into that groove there, and that kind of locks it into float in the down position. So it was getting real hard to move it up and down. So I think part of my problem was I think these little balls in there were kind of stuck and frozen up. There was a little piece of some grit and stuff in there too. So I think those were rubbing on that the little detent shaft there quite a bit and causing some excess friction. I did, with that off, it does move a little more freely. It's not as good as the rest of them, but it still moves better than it did initially. So I think that was part of my problem. I think another part of the problem is going to be the cable routing. So you have the cable all comes around and makes a hard turn in, and it's probably just worn through the inner sleeve, and it's just kind of getting into the uh, the winding that's on the outer jacket, and it's just kind of worn out. So I'll have to change that, but I'm also getting some leaking through the valves. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to change out the seals that are on the spools. They come in a kit that you can get. So this is the part number 4 of the kit. It is a Parker valve. I think they're the v20 valve. So what we're going to do is I got to unhook obviously the cables from it, and then hope I can kind of get them out of the way, because we're going to have to shift that around to get the seals. The seals are right in here, so we'll have to pull these caps off. With this one specifically, this little detent section here is threaded into the spool, so we'll have to remove that so we can get the seal out of there. It's going to be the same with the rest of these. They're going to have like a section that's either a clip or some that's threaded onto this little hat here to keep the spring on. So basically the way this works is when you pull the lever and the spool goes in, this spring will collapse to return it back to center. And then when you push it and then the spool comes out, the cap itself will hold this end of the hat of the spring, and then it will compress the spring, and then when you let go it returns it back to center. So this spring actually works both ways, and it keeps the valve centered so it's not on in any position while you're not using it. It stays in like a neutral. So let's say we're going to get started. We'll pull these cables off, and we'll start disassembling this to change the spools. This also does work the dump body. Like I said, with hydraulics, you're going to want to relieve all your pressures and stuff. You don't want to have anything that's still pressurized in there. So, like I say, with the dump body, when I put it all the way up, it's now going to have pressure in that cylinder pushing back on that valve. And if you deadhead it, it's going to be pressurized as well. So what I did was I put it up. I got my prop rod in there holding the weight of the body. I shut the pump off, and I pushed the valve forward and actually set it down on that rod to relieve all the pressure out of the lines here. So let's come in here and just make sure that you're not going to have any pressure and stuff. So Let's say we'll put our valves back and forth and relieve our pressures. And then this one is the one that I'm working on. So you can see, I mean, obviously you can't tell, but that pulls. This is tighter, but it's not as bad as it was. It was actually really difficult to move. So I think I'm still going to change out that cable, but for now, while I have it in here, I'm going to swap these out because I am getting a significant amount of leakage. As you can see, this plate's all wet and the drive shaft's wet. So enough rambling. Let's get started. All right, so we got to get these little like cotter pins out. And it's gone. Have to find that later. I'll get a new one. Yeah. It's down there somewhere. So we got to take, well, I already took that back cap off. Basically, you got to take the back cap off. We'll remove the spring. And then we got to take these two bolts off here. The instructions state to do the front one first, and then push the back one in until it's parallel with the back of the valve. Don't go any farther than that because there's a metering section on the spool. And if you push it too far, the seal will drop into the spool metering section. So there's like a relief cut into the spool. It'll drop in there, and then if they say don't force it back in because it will ruin the seal. So what you need to do is you need to remove the seal and then put it back in, push the spool back in, and then redo the front seal and then do the back seal. With this, we're just going to push it in until this relief here comes up to the O-ring, and then we're going to pull the O-ring out and then the backer, and put the new seal in the backer, and then this guy here, retainer, and then we'll do the back side. So let's see. That is going to be 3/16. So I've been pretty lucky. Everything's been 3/16 so far on this for the Allen bits. So there's that. Generally there's like a little master link in here that the lever goes onto, and then the lever will go in there, and then you'll have a back and forth lever. But these are set up with cables, so you don't have that. There's that. I'll make sure everything stays clean. Don't want any dirt or anything on anything. clean it off as you go. Make sure you keep everything in order because it needs to be reassembled the way that it came apart. I just bungee corded that lever back so I don't have to keep flipping this out of the way as much. Don't get this dirt and stuff out of there so it don't drop into the valve. I wouldn't use brake clean while you got the new seal in because you don't want to damage the O-ring or anything, so I'm just using it to clean this. We got to push this in. That was easy. Take up this. See what you can see. Yep, so I got this little backup ring. Take that off. And there's going to be a little O-ring right there. Make sure you don't mar up any of the surfaces or anything. And here's your O-ring. So take the new one, put the new O-ring in, backup ring, and put that back together, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Comes with 2 O-rings and 2 backups. And I want 1, obviously, of each. I don't think these are much. I think these are like $6 a piece or something. So just take a little bit of that fluid. Okay. So I just use this backup ring here to push on it to shove the O-ring in there. Slide that forward. So I'm going to clean this out. I got some grit and crap in here, which probably helped contribute to the seal leaking. I'll clean that out. Stick this back on. So I gotta take this plug off or cap off. That's gonna be 13/16 as well. And I'm gonna take a screwdriver and I'm gonna go in this groove in the front to keep it from rotating that the cable went into. Pating. I was hoping I wouldn't have so much spring pressure on it, but I guess it does. Okay. Cap off. Crap. I already messed up. So I want to push this up flush from what the instructions say. There you go. this ring. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I forgot to put it in when I did the front side, so I'll have to take that back apart and do the front side again. And there. Cap on. Is that the right one? Yeah, they're both the same. So, cap, spring, clean that off, spring, obviously. Man, that's got some tension on it. Yeah. So, back to the front, fix my mistake, and then these seals will be changed. Alright, I got some cotter pins here. Alright, so I'll put a little bit of grease on this. Put a little bit inside on those rollers for the detent. I think you gotta go too crazy with it. Put this on. I don't know if it makes a difference where this, I think this is like a vent. Or maybe it's like a, where the ball bearings go and it kind of vents in there. So I don't know if it makes a difference if it's up or down. I don't remember how it came off. I kind of think it was down. So I'm going to put it that way. Is that? Put our screws back in. Get these cap screws back in. One. This one only has 2. The other caps have 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snug this up, like just lightly, so it holds itself in its place. And I'm going to move the valve around, or the handle of the valve, so this will kind of center itself, because if you get it on and it's kind of like one way or the other where the detent and stuff is, then it's not going to want to, it can work against itself because it'll bind on that shaft, because there's really no play in that shaft. So if this isn't on straight, then it's going to have a problem. So I'm going to kind of move that around to like help center it a little bit, so you get these kind of snug that they'll still move, and we'll work the valve back and forth. So should be working pretty good. Snug it up. You don't put much torque on these. So there's that. Well, it's working a little smoother than it was initially. I'd say it's still requires a bit of effort, just because it's I think the cables got wear to it. It is the plow up and down, so it does get used probably the most. So let's go ahead and try another one of these. One right next to it. So this is what I got here. You see, this ring that was on the first one with the backup ring was missing on this one. It was only the seal. So yeah, I didn't see anything fall off. I didn't hear anything fall off. And all I had was this, so nothing was stuck to it. So, I mean, I don't have to worry about the backup ring because I have one. But I don't have that other big washer that goes in there. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. so I don't know if you can see that. So basically when I pulled it, you see how you got that relief in there? Well, that seal got in the back side of that relief, so they say don't push it back in because the seal drops in there and you can cut it. So that's where the problem lies with that. So I'm gonna finish this back side, and then I'll redo the front side. So alright, so I called about the retaining washer, and they can get them, but it's going to take me about a week before they get it. So I found this washer. It's just a smidge smaller than the one that's in there. It is a little thicker, but I don't think that's going to make a big difference because it's just going to kind of press it against there. So I think that'll be fine. But so what I did is I just took the backup washer and held it on there, ran some paint around it, and ground the middle out, filed it down, and kind of filed the edges here to make sure it wasn't sharp. So it's a lot smoother now. Kind of matches the other one. So the cable was definitely a problem. And I'd say this truck is good to go for a little while. So hope that can help somebody. Thanks for watching.